Joining the show tonight, probably the most pure definition of a ball hawk to ever roam the defensive backfield. He just dominated his pro day. The man had 13 interceptions in a season, not a career. From Central Washington, it's safety, Tanner Volk. What's going on, man?
How we doing?
Dude, excited to get you on here. I told you it took me long
Sir.
enough, but the fact that you're here now is exciting, and the fact that we get to talk about you potentially playing some more football. Not potentially, it's going to happen. We just got to figure out where, right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me on, though, for sure.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to get to talk to you a bit. And I wanted to talk. Let's start things off, man. The pro day, right? Let's talk about that pro day. Talk me through your expectations going into what many would consider the toughest job interview of your life, man.
Yeah, man, pro day was it was fun. It was, I wouldn't say stressful, but nerves start to kick in. So it's like a normal
Absolutely.
game day. Kind of feels like that. And just being from a smaller school, you got to go in there with guys that are Division 1. Power four. I guess I went to Washington State's pro day, so
Yep.
I guess not Power Four anymore, but same kind
We'll
of same
count it.
kind of
Hey,
thing,
we'll
right?
count it.
Yeah, same kind of thing. So you got to go in there and compete with those guys and stand out in a way. So it was fun. I ran a 4.5, which I was extremely happy with. I was projected to
Absolutely.
run a 4.65 going into my senior year. So just the fact that I was able to show them that I can run. Was good, and I put up a lot of good numbers and felt like I jumped pretty well, and show my ball skills and just how I move and position work and stuff like that. So I definitely thought I stood out and did what I needed to do to um, help give myself an opportunity. So
Yeah, 10'4" and a 36 and a half. I think you're being humble, and I appreciate that. But we're gonna need you to up that confidence level when we get into some of these meetings with these coaches and stuff, right? I
yeah.
love that though, and I think you're definitely right. You went and you showed that, and I wanted to talk about you finish your career over there at Central. What was that process like getting into some of these opportunities? Because everyone knows to get into an event of this caliber, especially Power Four or not, you have to have someone vouching for you on the other side that wants to see you go run that 40, that wants to go see you do the broad, do the vert, these other ball skill type of things. How difficult was it to try and get your foot in the door to open up some of these opportunities for you?
Well, at first I was actually so I went to Ford Sports Performance in Seattle, Washington, well known out in this
Okay.
area. And I kind of went through half of my pro day training. I was there for about 9 weeks, I believe.
Okay.
And I went about half of it without knowing where I was going to go. So I kind of just threw all the marbles in a jar. Is like, I'm going
Yeah.
to find somewhere to go. Like, I don't care where I got to go, but I'm going to spend the money on this training and get my body ready to go. And wherever it's at, it's, that's where I'm going to put on a show. Right. So, um, I got denied, and there's nothing against UW. Love UW. They let us use their facility all the time, but yeah, Washington, they're like it wasn't that they didn't want me kind of thing. They're just more of like it's a more of a private event and for their
Sure.
guys. And they had a couple of DBs or a safety coming out of there. So like I get it. Like you don't want other guys from other schools. Like I totally understand. So I got denied from them. So I'm like, shoot, like where am I going to go? And I knew Washington State just got a new staff. So I'm just like, my coaches don't really know their staff too well, kind of thing. And so I ended up talking to my coach a little bit more. My safety coach, we just had a new safety coach this last year, and he worked with some of the South Dakota State guys that are now at Wazoo. And so he connected with them, and it was super easy. Once we like hit them up, they just needed a couple scouts to request me and stuff like that, and probably had it done in a few days, and figured out I was going there a few weeks out from pro day, and then kind of eased my mind a little bit, knowing that I got
Oh
somewhere to
yeah.
go, and yeah, just the rest happened, and it's over now, and I'm happy. So
Yeah, that's important, right? But looking back on that, what is the difference in not that your training wasn't intense before, but your training when there's not necessarily a goal or an end in sight compared to now when you find out you have this opportunity and you have a solid something to work for, to work towards? What did that change, if anything?
um, I think just knowing that my parents invested so much in me. I was going through some like agent stuff, trying to find an agent. So I don't really have an agent, and agents like invest in players and will like pay for their pro day training, and then
Of course.
obviously you pay them back when you make a team, kind of thing, right? So I didn't have an agent thing, or I didn't have an agent all lined up and stuff. I ended up getting one like right as I got to training. But yeah, it was just I had to talk to my parents, and my parents had to take out some money that they
Yeah.
have saved up to, throw in for me. Obviously just being a Division II guy, like I'm not getting thrown NIL money. Like I just don't have that. So
Hmm.
that that was tough at first, right? But just knowing that they're investing so much in me, I don't want to let them down. I'm also a very superstitious person, so like throughout the whole process, I'm like, man, if I don't eat this yogurt or I don't eat this orange, like I'm not going to jump that well on pro day, like just because I didn't do this one thing, right? So
Man, yeah.
it kind of just keeps you disciplined in a sense. Not that I'm not disciplined here, when you do workouts, but just the Division II life, like we don't have nutrition center stuff like that, so you're kind of just
Absolutely.
buying, cheap chicken and eggs and rice and stuff, try to eat as good as possible, but sometimes you just can't afford to eat that good. So,
It's hard.
we're getting the occasional pizza on the weekend, just kind of things like that. Where now I'm in pro day training, like now I'm paying for meals, I'm paying for the nutrition stuff like that. So it kind of just puts a little bit of a difference in that sense. And it's the only thing that I'm doing. I'm doing online school. Haven't graduated yet just because I was 4 and done right with Central. So
Okay.
doing online school. So I'm doing school and I'm doing ball. Like those are the only two things I'm focused on. I'm not living in Ellensburg. I'm not living back in Portland where I'm from. I'm
Yeah.
in Seattle, Washington, and it's just me in an apartment. And so I come home and I do my schoolwork and I relax and I eat and I do my things. Like it's an everyday thing, and it gets boring in a sense because it's the same thing. But that's why you got to stay disciplined, got to stay on top of my stuff. And I was extremely happy with how it all played out, and just how disciplined I was able to stay throughout the whole process.
And easy to lose your way, especially when there aren't physically a lot of people there to keep you on the right path, so to speak, right? Where you have
For
to
sure.
rely on
Yeah.
yourself. You come into college, so to speak, and I know my freshman year, you got three other football guys as roommates. Those morning lifts, you got guys knocking on doors, you got guys going around making sure everyone's accountable, everyone's there. One, to be a good teammate, two, because they're not trying to go run and do whatever else that coach comes up with. But you talk
Yeah.
about being in an apartment by yourself, man. You don't have that. You don't got that, maybe that accountability buddy right there. This is you. This is all on you. And for you to put all the chips in and go all in on this yourself, so to speak, is one thing, right? We've heard that story before about guys that obviously are going to go all in, put all their eggs in one basket, like you kind of talked about earlier. But for your parents to have to do that too, right? And obviously, I'm sure they've supported you throughout this entire journey, but for you to have to go back to them, and you talk about that being maybe a difficult conversation at first, talk about you kind of overcoming that feeling of you really want to be self-sufficient in this way. I can assume just by talking to you, you'd like to be able to provide yourself in this way. But how difficult was that
Yeah.
conversation to go back to them and say, I know you guys have supported me up to this point. I just need a little bit more to get where I know I'm going to be able to get.
Yeah. My parents have been just super involved in my journey. Spent countless number of dollars on flights and hotels, and God, I don't think they missed an away game
That's awesome, man. That's so
in
cool.
the last maybe 3 years. I know there's
Man.
a couple of tough trips. We went to like New Mexico a couple of times that they just didn't make, and they're not the greatest of cities to go to, right? But no, but yeah, they've just been super supportive. It wasn't hard at all when I had to ask for that help, and
Okay.
they kind of knew that's what we were coming down to, with the agency stuff, and just kind of learning about pro day training, how it works, how much it costs, weighing out different options. But yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say or how much my parents want me to say, but my parents had to take out a home loan,
Yeah.
and took out a home loan that way. And the way my dad put it, he was like, I got another brother. He's like, I got two sons, and one of them has a chance to go live out his dream and go play in the NFL, right? Like you don't get that opportunity. Not every family gets that opportunity. So for my dad, he was just like, if I got a son that's got this opportunity, like I'm gonna throw all the money I can, his way to help him and help him live out his dream kind of thing. That's just how my parents are. It's how
Yeah.
my family is. Yeah, and I'll never have the words to, thank them for what they did. Try not to get emotional, but yeah, just never have the words to thank them for what they did, and all the things that they've helped me with, and it'll all come back around circle. And I'll be able to provide for them and
Yes,
help them
sir.
out with things. So
Yes, sir. It
yeah,
will. It absolutely will. And thank you for sharing that, man. I appreciate
yeah,
that. And I had a great uncle that said that you bring anything to him and he'd ask, is it something that can be solved with money? And if your answer was yes, he'd say, well, that wasn't really a problem then, was it? And this is one of those things, man, in your life. And, you and I are at still got a lot of life left, right? But this is a big point
For
in
sure.
your life, especially. But this is
Yeah.
one of those things that you don't want to leave any stone unturned, right? And you're going to go all in on this, and your parents, it's really amazing that they understand that as well. And I can only imagine if you guys hadn't done that and haven't gone that extra step and hadn't invested in this, and then maybe it didn't pan out, and you'd be left with this feeling of, well, what if? Right. But now you
Right.
go all in on this thing and you're going to bet on yourself and make this happen because, you go back to your career. You're a consensus All-American, Cliff Harris Award winner, Conference Player of the Year. I could go on, but, I've talked you up enough here. But obviously a lot of accolades, right? And you've earned that. What have the coaches and the scouts that you've talked to been most interested? And are they worried, if at all, that transfers to the next level or not?
I think just nowadays with transfer portal and things of that nature, obviously everyone asks the question, why didn't I transfer after my junior year? Things like that. So I think it's always going to be a question. Is his talent and his production going to translate to better competition? And I think that was one of the biggest questions. Like, is it going to translate? And then can he run? Okay, so I ran a 4.5. Like, okay, we checked that box
Check
off.
that
Now
box. Let's go.
I gotta get opportunity, and I believe I'm gonna get opportunity, and it's just a matter of what I go in there and wherever I go and what I do with that opportunity, right? So,
Mhm.
the scouts all like super impressed with the production, hard at any level to have 24 interceptions or
Hell yeah.
not trying to boost my own ego, right? But
Hey,
things like
hey,
that,
confidence, man. We go into these interviews and stuff. That's how we
yeah.
need you to be talking, man. You see all these guys, you do like the pre-draft and other type of interviews. You watch these guys, the way they talk about themselves. There's a time and place to be humble, brother. You're at a point in your life right now. We need you to be all in, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. But yeah, just the production numbers, what I was able to accomplish. I'm still young. I'm only 21 years old, so just
Damn.
things like that. Like I can still got a lot of ball left in me, I believe. So, that's kind of just what they're saying. And my biggest thing was, can you get to a Senior Bowl and show out against other guys? So I went to
Hmm.
CGS and I thought I did very well against SEC school guys or ACC school guys, stuff like that. Just kind of showed my own and had interviews with different teams and kind of just passed those tests. And I believe that boosts my stock. And then you go to pro day and you're checking all the boxes that you might have had questions on, and go out there and show out. And I feel like there's not a left that they can question other than is it going to translate into a real game in the NFL kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah. And guess what? Everyone's got that same question because none of
yeah,
them have played in the
exactly,
league.
exactly,
So yeah, I
exactly.
like that, man. That was gonna be the next question was that CGS appearance, but you kind of answered that and going against that top level competition and really from your perspective, the only way is just to show them, right? That's the only way
Yeah,
you can get rid of those doubts. But let's talk about your team a little bit. Didn't experience a losing season your time at Central Washington, man, and how difficult was that for you guys to achieve? You talk about the schedule that you guys play. It's a tough schedule. You factor in the travel that you guys go through in a lot of those games, even in conference. And then on top of that, you got a non-conference slate that I think actually looking back on it was pretty impressive, man. Talk about the resiliency of that team and what you learned about that group in your time there.
man. Like I tell a lot of people I wouldn't trade my time and how much we got to do as a Division II team, one of the only Division II teams or small school from the Pacific Northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'll break down our travel for you. Like my junior year, like when we went on that crazy run to the quarterfinals, we had 9 road games that year and only 4 home games. Um, and except for the playoffs, because the NCAA pays for charter planes, we're I believe 2.5 hours away from the Seattle airport, and so we got a bus there, and it's usually about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we got that trip. We used to take 2 buses, offense and defense, and then it started costing too much money, so we put everybody on one bus. Coaches had like these rental cars,
No.
everyone on rental cars, which is totally fine because I'm all for the team bonding, and but at
Yeah.
the same time it's 4 o'clock in the morning, like ain't nobody talking to each other, So we got the 2 hour bus ride all the way to SeaTac. And then usually we're playing Texas teams or New Mexico teams or whatever the case is. So it's always a 4.5 hour ish flight. And then we get in there, and then none of the small schools are in big cities, so it's usually a 3 to 6 hour. I think
Yep.
Angelo State and Permian Basin are about 6 hours away from the Dallas Fort Worth
Dude.
Airport. Um, So I mean, talk about we're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We're not getting into Texas at 7, then we got to go play a game the next day, right? And we did that the whole year. So you talk about resiliency and adversity. Like that's what we're built on. It's just the kind of team we were. We're not the biggest team. We're not the strongest team. We're not the most flashiest team. Kind of thing. We're pound the rock and stop the run kind of team, right? And I think everybody knew that with all the low scoring games that we had and
Yep.
all the tight ball games. But that's just the kind of team we were. We knew how to finish games and things of that nature. But yeah, I love these guys. Love everybody involved in the Central community. And I mean, go back to when I talked about. Oh, hold on. Did I lose you? Okay, there we go.
You're good.
But yeah, go back and talk about the transfer portal and stuff like that. Like that's why I don't leave is because one legacy. And two, I'm just loyal to, who helped develop me and the relationships that I built here and the connections and stuff like that. Like that's all 4 years. Like I went to the postseason 3 times. We won the GNAC before Simon Fraser dropped their team, and we had to go. And then we went to the Lone Star. We won that, and then we came into the Lone Star, and we were runner up 3 times in a row, and it was just one. It came down to one game. So I mean, it was unbelievable 4 years, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. So
Amen, brother. I love that. And I
yeah.
obviously have an idea looking geographically at the travel, and you can start to add up miles. But then when you add in some of those times and consolidating down from a bus to 2 to 1 and those kind of things, it's like, man, that's a lot to overcome before you even step onto the field, before you even put the cleats and the pads on and start warming up. There's a lot of hurdles to jump over with that. And moving forward now, talk about expectations for the next month and some change before things really start picking up for you. What's the timeline look like? How do you prepare for this next month or so?
Yeah, I ended up going back to school. I still got 1 quarter left, but I'm back in Ellensburg,
Yep.
training with our strength coach and stuff. So he's got me on a little 6 week plan up until the draft, and so yeah, I'm just working out, staying in shape. Still doing sprint workouts just in case I got to go somewhere and run another 40, stuff like
Okay.
that. So keep the feet under me, DB drill kind of thing. Stuff like that. Just staying in shape, the biggest thing, and just being ready to go. Whenever somebody calls my phone and is willing to give me an opportunity, right? So that's what I'll be doing up until the draft.
I love that. Love it, man.
Yeah.
And the last thing I wanted to leave you with, and this was something that I know we had highlighted on our social when it happened, but when you got involved with the marrow donor program, that was one of the more special things I've seen. And to be honest, I hadn't even really heard of that until you had posted it.
Yeah.
And upon doing just a little bit of my own research, like must have been an incredible piece for you. I know you had mentioned that was one of the most gratifying things that you've done and one of the most impactful things you've done in your lifetime. Talk to me about how that came to be and what made you get involved.
Yeah, so our football team is just super involved with NMDP now. I think it used to be called Be the Match, NMDP now. But yeah, just super involved in my freshman year is when it got introduced to me, and everybody on the team just like uses these like swab kit things, and you just swab like your inner mouth, and they just get like sent off to a place, and you can never hear you get called that you're a match for someone with some kind of um, cancer or blood issues or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I did that in 21 my freshman year, and I got called last March that I could be a potential match for somebody. And it's the amount of like stuff you got to do and like phone calls and questionnaires and all this stuff. And so I ended up just going with it, and talk to my family, and it's not an easy decision.
absolutely, man. That's
you know
it's
it,
not like going and giving blood or going and getting some plasma. Like there's levels to that for sure. That's a big commitment on
yeah.
your part as well.
Yeah, so it wasn't like it was an easy decision to go help somebody,
Of
but
course.
it wasn't like an easy decision at the time because I didn't know what to expect kind of thing, right? So but yeah, just a lot of phone calls, and I ended up just telling them like, yeah, if I'm the perfect match, like yeah, I'm in, like let's see what happens. And then about a month later, I got another call that I was like the perfect match for this person. So however that I'm not sure how that all works out, but Yeah, I got that call, and I'm just like, shoot, and like, let's do it. I'm all
Yeah.
for it. I know there was a couple people at Central that were like not the perfect. They were like the second runner up to a perfect match. So like the fact that I was like going to be like the first one that was going to be able to do it like within the football program, I believe, was pretty cool. And yeah, so I had this one lady that I talked to probably every 2 or 3 days doing different stuff. She was kind of like my person that I asked questions, or just we had each other's phone numbers. Like we're always constant communication. She sets everything up, etc. And yeah, it's crazy. About 5 days out from when I go back. I guess I was supposed to do it in Seattle, but they didn't have my time frame of like when I wanted to get it done or like when I
Yeah.
needed to get it done because I was going places and you only have like a certain transplant center needs it within a certain day kind of thing. And
Man.
so the days lined up and I wasn't able to go to Seattle. Like obviously an hour and a half away from me, and they ended up having to fly me all the way out to Arizona. And so my mom and I went to Arizona, went to the donation center, and about 5 days out from when you donate, you start these. I think there's like 3 shots. You start these shots where it like helps boost your stem cells a little bit.
Okay.
I ended up doing the stem cells, and I'm glad it worked out that way. I wasn't sure about the bone marrow surgery and stuff like that. I just selfishly for me, I had to think about myself and my athletic career, and I wanted help so much. So I'm glad that they only needed the stem cell transplant.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's what I did. And so yeah, they ended up having to boost my stem cells for 5 days, every five or from 5 days out, and then every day until the donation. Yeah, and then I went there, and it was probably they take like your blood, and they're able to tell you exactly how long you're going to be in that chair, exactly how long it's going to take, just based on your blood type, and stuff in your blood or whatever, and how
It's
fast they're
incredible
able to
stuff, man.
how fast they're able to get it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so they just it's basically just like getting your blood drawn. It comes out one arm, and it goes into this machine, and it separates your stem cells. And then they got another one that goes into your other arm, and it's all that blood that they separated. All that blood like comes back into you. They just separated the stem cells, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like one of the quicker ish ones. I was probably only like 2.5 3 hours, I think, or something like that. But yeah, it was super cool, super emotional. I mean, like you mentioned, one of the greatest things that I've probably ever done is helping save someone's life.
And you got to meet them, I would assume.
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I know.
Got to make
Uh,
that happen, right?
yeah, I think the rule is like you're not allowed to for 9 months after it's been done.
Really?
I don't
Okay.
know how
Interesting.
much I'm allowed to say, but we
Yeah,
have
that's all. Hey,
exchanged.
that's all right. I'm not trying to get you in
Okay,
trouble on
okay,
here. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But eventually,
but yeah,
that'd be really neat, of course.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we exchanged
Absolutely.
letters and stuff, and I'm not sure like
Okay.
what his name. I know
Yeah.
that he's a male and how old and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but we don't know each other's names. They kind of blank all that stuff out and stuff. So yeah,
Cool,
super
man.
cool though, man. It
Yeah.
was a great experience, and I was glad I was able to do it. And yeah,
Something to
super
look
cool.
forward to for sure, man, down the
Yeah,
road. But A+ ball player, A+ human, dude. 21.
appreciate it.
That's crazy, by the way. 21, I was
Yeah,
not aware of. So a
yeah,
lot of ball left, a lot of good deeds left for you, Tanner. I
yeah,
appreciate you, man. That's all I got for
yeah.
you. It's been
Appreciate
great,
it.
dude.
Thank
I
you,
really
Kobe.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your night, man.
You as well, man. Appreciate it.